Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Season 23 of the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. And Michael, we've been hosting this show for a while now. What are we going to do to keep this things fresh?
Brad, no matter how many times you ask, we're not going to do any role playing to keep things spicy. I have a better idea.
Okay, Michael, first off, that was a private conversation between us, and you were not supposed to say that out loud. Luckily, nobody listens or watches the show.
Okay, that's true. Okay, well, here's my idea.
Okay.
Let's have an interesting topic with interesting guests this season and just get out of the way.
That sounds so cool. What is our theme for this season?
I'm so glad you asked, Brad. As business attorneys for healthcare practices, we meet a lot of interesting people and learn their amazing stories. This season's theme is the future of wellness, where longevity, advanced weight loss solutions, and anti-aging innovations collide. Get ready for insights from the people driving the evolution of the medical industry.
Wow, that actually sounds amazing. I can't wait to watch our first show.
I know. I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, Michael, we do have 2 guests joining us today. That's right, audience members, 2 guests. And we're going to talk about wellness. And we get tons of questions about the intersection of wellness and med spa and how they all come together. But today we have, and even better, we have the leaders of AmSpa, the largest trade association for med spas, to help answer these types of questions.
Everyone, our guests, and by now our listeners, Brad, know that your daydream is to have a private jet, right?
Confirm.
Well, I'm going to help add some color to your dreams.
Okay.
I read an article recently titled The Billionaire Social Calendar for 2026. I figure you need to think about where you'll be traveling once you get that jet.
Well, I'm sure all of us billionaires, the movers and shakers of the world, will be in Vegas in April of next week for the Med Spa show.
Yeah, I heard you say us. I don't think you're quite there yet.
No?
No, not quite.
Okay.
But yes, that's not the question. Besides MSS, where do you think they'll be going this year?
All the F1 races.
Not completely inaccurate.
Yes.
I have the calendar that goes month by month with the go-to social events.
Okay.
So you've already missed Davos in January and the Super Bowl in February and the Oscars in March. But I read I read this crazy article about the World Economic Forum in Davos that we may need to break down in a separate episode.
Yeah, the World Economic Forum could be its own podcast. But where else are we? I mean, where else are the billionaires? My friends, the billionaires, where else are they going to go
I
this
think
year?
we should own it. Let's just say we and maybe we'll manifest.
Yes, manifest
all of it
on our private planes.
Okay.
Where are we going?
All right. For future planning, here are the key events by month.
Okay.
April, the Masters. May, the Milk and Global Conference.
Okay.
June is the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
July, the Allen and Company Sun Valley Conference.
Okay.
August, Burning Man, a little surprising.
Yeah.
September, the Monaco Yacht Show.
Of
I think we've talked about that before too.
Oh, yeah.
October is the Frieze Art Fair and Art Basel Paris. Not sure about that one.
All right.
November is F1 Vegas. There's your F1.
There you go.
And then December, New Year's in St. Bart's, of course.
Well, all those really sound like nice stopping points, actually.
Have you ever attended any of these events or are any of these on your list even before you have that private jet?
Well, I actually have been blessed to attend a lot of Super Bowls, but on my list to fly in my private plane would definitely go to the Masters, any World Cup, and definitely any F1 event. How about you?
I've not attended any of them, and those are all the same answers I would give too because they're all bucket list sporting events.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we have enough about what we'll be doing with our billionaire friends, but let's bring on our guest today.
All right. Joining us is Alex Thiersch. Will go first. He's our 4th-time guest. He graduated from the University of Iowa, went to DePaul University College of Law. He is the founder and chairman of the American Med Spa Association. He has the Medical Spa Insider podcast. He is the managing partner of some law firm called ByrdAdatto's Chicago office.
Sounds interesting.
Passionate about dogs, cats, and Michael Jordan. And then we have Adam Reinebach. He is the CEO of AmSpa. He, prior to that, was the operating partner with Banter Capital, and previously CEO of Bridge Tower Media. Went to Rutgers in journalism. And Alex and Adam, appreciate you guys being here today.
Great to be here.
I mean, first of all, thanks for having us. I could sit here and listen to you two all day long. This is the most fun I've had. The Billionaire's Social Calendar, I've got some qualms with that. There's no way that the F1 Monaco race can't be on there. That's just a terrible oversight.
I agree with you on that.
Whoever wrote that's going to have to hear from our lawyers.
Well, that brings me to our very first question, which is, I mean, I like where you're going already, Alex. Of the Billionaire Social Calendar for 2026, besides MSS, what events do you plan or would you like to have planned to attend in your private plane?
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, for me, my dream would be F1 Monaco and be able to have one and stay in one of those yachts, right by where they cruise along. I mean, that would be amazing. Maybe Paris Fashion Week, I think would be really cool. I think that would be cool. Something like that. I've always wanted to go to a Carnival in Rio. Would be a cool thing. And I think going as a billionaire would be a lot better than the pauper that I normally do when I go to those things. Adam probably has a lot of insight into this because he's done all these things.
I wish. I think number one for me would be probably the NCAA tournament. The basketball tournament.
Oh yeah.
NBA finals. I have been to an NBA finals, but I'm a sucker for basketball. So really, any great basketball event, those would be at the top of my list for sure.
Fair.
Sounds great.
Yeah. You had us at any basketball event or sporting event.
Exactly.
I'm all in.
All right. Well, let's jump in. I'll let you guys kind of both take a shot at this. Tell us, just love for the audience to hear a little more about AmSpa and the Medical Spa Show.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, I appreciate you guys having us on. I mean, we've had a little bit of a change. I've stepped back from being CEO, and we've brought Adam on, and he's now kicking ass as our new CEO, and that's allowed me to take a little more time and work on more of the advocacy, legislative side, which I know we're going to get into a little bit because there's a lot going on in the industry. And here we are coming up on MSS again, which is amazing. It seems like every year it's just over, or oh my god, here it is again, and now we're 5 weeks away. No, 1 week away. Sorry, I don't know where I am. 1 week away, and it's always right on our heels. And this year is going to be amazing. Adam's been a little more involved in some of the details than I have in the past, but I do know that we've got a lot of new things this year that are going to be amazing. And AmSpa in general also it has really been. It has been going, I don't want to say in a new direction, but we're really getting back to our roots and trying to help the industry, because the industry has a big need for representation as a whole with what's going on. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. But Adam, the MSS, I think I'm really excited for everyone to see this year, because I think we say this every year, but I really believe this year is the biggest and best that we've ever done, and it's gonna blow the roof off. Anyone who hasn't been is gonna just be blown away by what they see.
Yeah, no, we've got great momentum with this show. We're obviously about we're first of all, I'll just say we have 75 new exhibitors.
Wow,
which is just incredible. And that's a mix from different industries, but there's certainly many of those exhibitors come from AI and other technology companies. And one of the things we're adding this year that we've never done before is a whole track on the first day of the show that focuses squarely on artificial intelligence and technology innovation. And that's going to just take the average med spa operator through all the different tools that are available to them, all the ways that they can increase the margins on their business by leveraging the technology that's out there. I mean, it's developing so quickly. And I think what's great about MSS is, if you're the average med spa operator, you don't have time to unglue yourself from the day to day, but you come to MSS, you can kind of give yourself an excuse to say, all right, I keep hearing about AI. I'm not really leveraging it the right way. Here's a great opportunity for me to really learn about it. So we're excited about that. We've really obsessed about the agenda to make sure that it's as timely and relevant as possible. We've got a bunch of new speakers this year. And another huge addition, and Alex did a ton of work on this to get us to this point, is that we are going to have live injections at the show. So really, there's a ton of new stuff that's happening, and it's really creating a lot of enthusiasm in the market, as we're getting close.
That's awesome. Well, again, excited for next week to be at the Win with you guys. But let's, Alex, you kind of said this in the opening that as AmSpa has shifted to be more of an advocate for its members, there has been a lot happening in many different states, and the landscape has been changing state by state of these legislation, and we're seeing different type of enforcement. Why don't you talk about what's been going on, what you've been seeing?
Yeah, it's interesting because this isn't necessarily a new thing, and we've always known that this was coming. And last year it was happening, but really what we're seeing now is just a flood of legislation and regulatory activity and enforcement as well on and against med spas, and it's coming from places that we didn't necessarily expect, and it's coming in ways that we didn't necessarily expect. And I think, not everybody knows about it, and I think part of the reason that I'm excited to have Adam on board is, number one, he's got such experience, growing and scaling companies, and he can help AmSpa provide the resources that we need to provide. But we need, as an industry, to get ourselves together, because these bills, there was one that just happened in Indiana. And by the way, if any of you want to hear more about it, we talk a lot about this on our podcast and on our website. And we have Patrick, who's O'Brien, our general counsel. We talk about this stuff at length. But there's a ton of this legislation that is either trying to get med spas under the umbrella of the Board of Pharmacy, which is kind of strange, because healthcare is never governed by the Board of Pharmacy, or we're seeing small tweaks in rules that have major impacts on the way that med spas can do things that they've ordinarily done. And we saw this in Texas last year, and we're starting to see kind of some other things that just kind of are popping up. And the reason this is important is that this is all happening not because of things that are bad with the industry. It's happening because of the perception that others have of the industry. So these legislatures and the regulators don't know the way that the industry works. And so the only story they're getting is the story that's being told to them from others. And the story they're being told is that the industry is a total dump. And I hate to say that because it kills me, but I wish you could. Just in Indiana the other day, the perception that these folks have of what the med spa industry is really depressing, because they don't see it as a professional industry. They see it as a hodgepodge of back alley nail salons, and just nobody's clean. Everyone's using counterfeit products. Nobody's licensed. Nobody's safe. And that's the narrative that they're using to regulate us. And so my job, and I think what we're doing now and what we have to do if we're going to survive this, is we have to come together and change that narrative. And that's the main thing.
Maybe you should invite them to Vegas next week so they can see all the compliant ways things are being done.
Well, we are, and interesting. We're going to have our friends from the FDA are going to be in Vegas because they've, as you may have known, shown an interest in the industry as well, and we've gotten in touch with them, and they are very, very interested in a good way. And I have to say, they've been very interested in having a conversation. So we're excited to have them. They're giving a talk as well. So we're going to show them. We're going to show them this is not just a fly-by-night operation.
And you're going to keep them away from Brad?
Yes. Well, or we're just going to introduce them to Brad, depending on how they are. We're not sure. Because if they get really excited, maybe they'll be, and they'll be like, Brad's the best. And next thing you know, we will never see him again.
All right. Well,
we can cut that out.
No, never. So this season, you heard at the beginning, our focus is on something I'm sure you're getting a ton of questions on, because we all are. And that's just the talking about the future of wellness. And when we say wellness, we're including longevity, weight loss, anti-aging, kind of does dovetail even into your mention of the FDA. But I'd love to kind of hear y'all's perspective kind of from what you're seeing at AmSpa about how you're seeing wellness intersect with aesthetics.
Yeah, Adam, I would love to have your perspective on this too, because you're kind of coming at it from a bit of an outsider, not so much anymore, but I would love to hear kind of what you're seeing, because I of course am at such, I've been at this from the aesthetic side for so long. It's all coming in, and yes, it's blending, but people are talking to, Adam is learning this kind of from his own perspective. And it's been interesting to see when he comes back and reports back what folks are telling him, because it really it's becoming a new industry. I think it's becoming a very new and different industry, and there's no going back. I think this is where it's going to go and where it's going to stay.
Yeah, I would just add that I think you're seeing in kind of the main providers of these treatments, they're all expanding, right? None of them are just resting on their laurels and saying, I think I'm good with these 4 or 5 treatments. They all want to be more holistic in their approach, and wellness is obviously a great moniker. And it's very positive, and everybody wants to feel well, and everyone wants to live a long time. So all these terms are I think really resonating with the general public. And I can share stories, I'm sure we all can, of even people that I know within my family who, maybe 5-10 years ago said, oh, Botox, that's crazy. I don't want to have, Mar-a-Lago face. I don't want to look weird. And then, they go to somebody and they have a conversation with the injector, and it goes well, and maybe they get a treatment and they go, wow, this is actually nothing like what I thought it would be. And I think there's so many instances of that happening. And then there's other people that are going to come in from a completely different vantage point. Maybe it's weight loss. Maybe it's, hey, I just want to live longer. I heard about some, new medicine online, and I can't make heads or tails of it. And then, maybe that entry point is a med spa. So I think there's just an increased awareness of all of these goals, and I think ultimately it will help the industry. It may be that some of the monikers change right over time, but I think a lot of it is just making sure we can educate people on all of this development, because it really is kind of happening at a head spinning pace.
Alex, do you think that the stuff you're seeing in Indiana and other states is a consequence of these wellness type things, GLP-1s, et cetera, coming into medical spas? So, you mentioned that they're kind of coming at it from the board of pharmacy angle, and I could see that connection.
No, it's not as a consequence, meaning I think it would be happening anyway. I think it's really adding an accelerant to the fire that I think has taken me by surprise, and especially this year, because we knew just from last year with what happened in Texas, that was dealing with an IV clinic, which IVs have always been, a part of med spas. That's not necessarily a new thing.
Right.
But with GLP-1s and some of the other treatments, that now you are getting into this pharma related big pharma related realm where they have an interest in it.
Mhm.
And what's happening is this, it's starting to tinker with them, and big pharma's ability to do business. And so it's added another component where it's not just, okay, you've got regulators and legislatures who don't think med spas are safe. They don't want to do, Botox parties. They don't want to do whatever it is. And so we're going to regulate med spas. You still have that, but now you've got a multi-billion dollar industry that is trying to protect their GLP-1 market,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
that is going after the entire wellness industry to protect that market, and is just kind of lumping in med spas. So it's almost like we're a casualty as part of that. And sometimes it's not, the legislation isn't so bad and whatever, it works out, but there's a few it has been really restrictive, and you just it's so that's the main thing. It's just it's coming right now. There's, I think, 6 states that have this legislation that have been filed almost simultaneously, and it's how do you fight all 6 at once if you're an industry that's as fragmented as we are? So that's why we really have to come together. Otherwise, it's that we're going to be. I mean, you think it's difficult right now to tell the laws from state to state. I mean, it's going to be even worse if we can't have some kind of unified representation.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously, we're talking about different aspects of wellness and anti-aging, and I know peptides is a big issue right now. The FDA's reviewing it. We have HRT. Talk about, obviously with your pulse from the members, what are you hearing about from a compliance perspective and from business perspective? What are the considerations that these med spas are considering if they are even looking at these types of newish product lines?
I think Alex could probably give a more complete answer on this, but interestingly enough, I just met this morning with a California med spa operator who lives near me. And, I said, hey, what are some of your kind of big areas of concern right now? And she said, specifically peptides and HRT. And basically her comment was, it's so hard to keep up with all the developments happening right now and making sure that we're compliant. And, it's going to vary state to state, right? California tends to be pretty heavy in terms of regulation. So, her takeaway was, hey, it's great that all this stuff is happening, but I'm just trying to keep up and make sure that I know what's happening and which ones I can use, and really just kind of feeling that burden of keeping aware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard. People's heads are spinning. I think there's not only are these new developments happening, but yeah, as you know, the law moves much slower, so the regulations aren't catching up, and people are saying different things, and God forbid you look on social media and see what people are doing, and it just creates a spaghetti bowl of things where people don't know what to do, what to believe, and they want some guidance. They just want to know where the road is so they can be on it. And unfortunately, right now, with all of these different new modalities, nobody can really tell them. We can tell them, a little bit, and I kind of always defer to you guys on this because you're the experts. But it's you can tell them, but then they also see, number one, everyone else, a lot of people are doing it, and number two, they also see that a lot of these things are really, really effective and they're
Yeah.
working very, very well, but they don't have any ability because of our kind of insulated industry, and because we're not really understood and we don't have our own specialty. There's no way to really kind of engage and figure out how we can be a part of it and start using some of these therapies and trials and stuff like that. So it's there's a lot of work to do. I can tell you that, because people have questions, and it's too bad, because there's so much good that's coming out of all this
Yeah.
that I'm
Mhm.
excited for it, and everyone's excited for it. We've got to get the house in order somehow.
And we're really dedicating this whole season to taking a deep dive into all of this. We'll have an entire episode on peptides where we'll have our partner Sam on to give the lowdown on all this confusion that you just mentioned. So kind of speed round questions. We're already just blew through our time today. I'd love to hear from each of you kind of your perspective on what changes you see kind of with this wellness. What are you seeing happening in the med spa world over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at this one. I think one big trend is going to be that, and this is more of a consumer trend, but I think it'll be good for med spas, is I think that it's already starting to happen. There's going to be an increased understanding that aesthetics are not just a vanity play. It's not just about, looking better as I age. There are so many other aspects that, when you talk about just overall wellness and mental health and people's kind of just regular baseline confidence, how they feel about themselves and how that translates to other parts of their life. I do think this is just going to continue to grow. And I think that med spas they have to be aware of which way the wind's blowing. They've got to be aware of compliance for sure. And they can't rest on their laurels, because there are these other groups that are going to be providing some of these services. And so I think it's incumbent upon the med spas to just stay very close to what these trends are, while staying compliant. But I just think that whole dynamic of how people perceive aesthetics medicine is going to change.
Nice. Alex, any final word?
I mean, that's great. I think it's really well put. The difference between aesthetics and wellness, longevity, and all that, I think is going to be blurred. It's all going to be one thing. I think that's kind of goes without saying at this point. I love the fact that Adam sees it too. It's like it's not a vanity play, and I think the more that we get to that point, the quicker we can be taken more seriously. Because I think that's part of the problem, is that when it is just a vanity play and it's just, oh, you're just paying to look better, that good, bad, or indifferent, that cheapens it in some people's eyes. But this is about making people feel better and be more healthy, and I think there's a lot to that. So I think that was a well put.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us on the Legal 1-2-3s with ByrdAdatto. We'll go to break and come back with a few legal insights, but we're grateful for both of you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Happy to be here. And just real quick, season 23, which means this is Michael Jordan season. So it's the greatest season of all time.
I can't believe we didn't make that connection.
I blame Michael.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't either.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Welcome back to Legal 1-2-3s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. And Michael, we have an exciting season 23. Michael Jordan number, as Alex said right before we left. The future of wellness is our theme. And wow, I'm so happy that Alex and Adam got to come in, talk about what's happening in the industry. More importantly, talk about what they're going to be doing next week. I know next week, the Med Spa show in Vegas will be really capturing a lot of stuff we talked about, a lot more details. Going in depth about, as we heard, AI, but I know a lot of the stuff about the peptides and wellness and everything else that's been doing. So for our takeaways, for our audience members who can get there, go to MSS and meet us up there, and obviously meet us in person. I'll sign any autograph you want me to, because I'm humble like that. Michael won't sign anything. But anyway, thank you again for joining us. Guess what, Michael? We'll be back next Wednesday when we continue the future of wellness and we address the collision between wellness and M&A when Ben Hernandez from SkyTail joins us. Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.